Hey there, welcome back to Ask Amy. I have a question today from Dorthe, and it's a follow-up. So she says that she saw my response to Esme's question, which was about health anxiety. This was a couple weeks ago. And Esme had some physical sensations like lightheadedness and feeling like she couldn't breathe and things like that were turning into panic. So we talked about sensation. We talked about how the problem, the panic, is an interpretation of that sensation, right? It's the mind coming in saying, oh no, this shouldn't be happening. This feeling shouldn't be here. What do I do now? That's okay. That's thought. That's what's going to happen. But we want to keep seeing that's thought interpreting sensations. The sensation is fine. People get lightheaded. People have, feel their heart at times. Like, all of that is not a problem. What's happening, and this is why we even know enough to call it, like the people dealing with this know enough to call it health anxiety. They don't say, oh, I'm absolutely positive I'm dying. They sort of feel that way sometimes, but mostly they kind of know at some point, I have health anxiety, meaning, whether they realize it or not, meaning that there's a lot of stuff that's being way misinterpreted. And that's totally accurate. That's exactly what's happening. So anyway, that was Esme's question about some stuff that she's calling health anxiety. She kind of knows it's not really a problem. Definitely not a problem the way her mind is giving it to her and panicking around it. And so we just kind of talked about being in the actual felt sensation in real time and noticing those interpretations. So Dorte's question is very short follow-up. She says, I saw Esme's question about health anxiety and would like to ask whether your answer also applies if you actually have a diagnosis such as Parkinson's. So it's the exact same thing. And I think you sense this, Dorthe, by the way that you asked the question. There's absolutely no difference because, again, what's felt, now beyond the conceptual, what's felt is some physical sensation, some energy. That could be emotion. It could be, stuff like feeling lightheaded. It could be any kind of physical energy in the body. And there's going to be a lot of physical energy. There's a lot of physical energy for all of us all the time. And particularly so if you have Parkinson's or if you have some other health issues, right? There's just going to be stuff. See if you can just feel into this. There's going to be that stuff before and without the big, heavy conceptual story about what it means, whether I like it or not, whether I want it to be here, what it means for my future. That big, heavy conceptual load comes in, and it comes in quickly. But keep feeling into that. Like just as we look at it right now, you can see what's really happening is some physical sensation. That is normal. It's okay. It's universal. What hurts us, what translates into suffering, is the big, heavy conceptual story with all the meaning. And that's where these sensations, it's like we kind of leave reality, which is just feeling what's here. We leave the moment, we leave reality, and we're often what this means for our future and what we need to do to prevent it later and all of that very abstract conceptual stuff. So that right there, that kind of process, if you want to call it that, is exactly the same whether there's a diagnosis or not. Because the diagnosis is part of the conceptual overlay. Let's just say you had Parkinson's the day before you got diagnosed and the day after, and the difference was nothing. Like the physical stuff was the same. The only difference the day after the diagnosis was the thinking about it, the interpretation, the way it's held, right? So again, that stuff's going to come in. Like this is not about not having those thoughts. Absolutely not. That's going to happen. I don't even know that I want to say it's just about seeing the layers of experience, seeing the thought come in, seeing like, oh, there's the mind interpreting this sensation, putting it way off into the future, telling a story, comparing it to other people with Parkinson's, which none of that has anything to do with you in reality right now. None of it does. This is the thing about diagnoses and things, although, they have a lot of extremely practical pieces to them. Like if there's something there, it's helpful in general to have a diagnosis around it, because it's just very practical and you kind of know how to handle some things better. And, it makes perfect sense that we would want things diagnosed. But sort of the other side is that the mind latches on to generalizations that have nothing to do with us. So if you get a diagnosis, any kind of diagnosis, without question, your doctor is telling you, here's what happens in general, here's what happens for other people, here's how this tends to go. Now, again, that's all great when we can actually see it for what it is. Actually seeing it for what it is and holding it loosely, very, very difficult at times, because the mind, especially when, there's some uncertainty, is grabbing onto everything and just trying to make it solid and put it into place and apply it to me, because that's all the mind knows how to do. Everything has to be about me in one way or another in thought. So even when a doctor says, hey, you could have a totally different path, I have no clue what's going to happen for you, which hopefully that's what doctors are saying, right? Like, I have no idea, but this is what happens in general. A me-focused mind doesn't often hear it that way. A me-focused mind hears it as, oh, so here's what's going to happen to you. And then it's not different. It's just, there's just a lot more suffering. Life is still life. There's still just sensation and interpretation. Nothing's actually different. But those interpretations are believed and the meaning is believed, and there just tends to be a lot more suffering. So see if you can get a sense of that, Dorthe, that it's the exact same. Now, when you have a sensation, again, because of this diagnosis, or it might not be you that you're talking about, but when any of us feel some sensation, the interpretation is likely to be in line with that diagnosis. Oh, I bet it's this phase now, or I bet that's happening. To some degree, that's very helpful and practical if it gives you some guidance on what to do. But you just want to watch the thoughts and the stories and the meaning, and just see that though none of that is reality. That's all imagination. None of that is known. None of that is known. You can feel some sensation. You can go take a medication or go to a doctor if you need to, or just sit and let that sensation come and go. That's all going to happen. It's going to be fine. It's just the big, heavy overlay of what it all means for me, and my future. That's the piece that comes into play a little bit more. That's, it's only thought. The only thought. When we can see that coming in and we can see it as thought, we're free. There's just nothing in that can hurt you. When you see it as a thought, really see it though as a thought, like, oh, there's the mind bringing this in. When we see thought as thought, we're 100% free from it. It's still there, but we're free. Like, how can it hurt you if you see it as a thought? It only hurts us when we see it as truth, when we believe it, when we get all wrapped up in it. So look into that. See if you can sense these layers. There's sensation, there's reality, there's what's really here, and then there's the thinking about it, and then there's the diagnosis, and then there's the predictions. It gets more and more abstract as we go, and the more abstract it gets, the more we suffer. And the more abstract it gets, the less true it is. All right. Thank you for sending your question. You can send questions to askamy@thelittleschoolofbigchange.com, and I'll see you guys next time.